So not only did God have a plan, but God's plan was good.
Yes.
It was the Lord's good plan.
Yes.
In the New Living Translation, the King James Version reads that this plan pleased the Lord. The plan of salvation through the suffering servant was not just a plan, but a pleasing or good plan. Suffering servant, delivered through suffering servant. Not just a plan, but a good plan. This causes some problems for some folks. God's good plan was for his servant to suffer.
Right.
God's good plan was for his servant to be bruised. God's good plan was for his son to be put to grief. None of this stuff sounds all that good yet. God's good plan was for his servant to be murdered under false charges. This is a good plan. Anybody want to sign up for this plan? God's good plan. It was the Lord's good plan. It pleased the Lord. It certainly doesn't sound good for the servant, and to some readers and hearers, it presents challenges about the character of God, especially to modern believers. The problem, as some see it, is that this plan involves suffering. God is a good God. A good God cannot possibly be pleased by a plan of suffering. How does that work? How is this plan supposed to be good when it requires somebody suffer, not much less his only begotten son? How does that please the Lord? Now I got quiet. I should have let everybody shout when I had a bunch of amen. How does this work? And so there are some translators who will simplify this and reduce it to say it was God's plan. But the word that is used in the original text, Caphets, which means to delight or to take pleasure in. The first time you see this word used is when in Genesis, when Shechem wants to propose to Joseph's daughter, it says, and the young man deferred not to do the thing because he had delight, or Caphets, in Jacob's daughter. And he was more honorable than all those of the house of his father. Second time we see this word used in the Bible is when Joshua is trying to prompt Israel to go ahead and take the land when everybody's saying we can't do it. We can't conquer these giants. Joshua said, if the Lord delights or Caphets in us, then he will bring us into this land and give us this land which floweth with milk and honey. Just for the sake of being thorough. The third time it's used is when talking about divorce law in the Old Testament. If a man, and it shall be if a man takes a wife and he has no delight or Caphets in her, then thou shalt let her go whether she will, but thou shalt not sell her for money. You won't make merchandise of her because you've already humiliated her. So this word Caphets Jehovah, it was the Lord's good plan, or it pleased the Lord. This plan of a suffering servant was not only a good plan, not only did it please God, but it pleased God in a manner that was linguistically similar to the pleasure a man takes in the companionship of a woman. God didn't just like this plan, God really liked this plan. There's no way of getting around it. So for postmodernists who look at the text of the scripture and the testimony of who we say God is, this creates all kinds of problems. Because if God's a good God, how is he taking pleasure in the suffering of somebody? Somebody must be wrong. The church declares God's a good God, yet the Bible records God instructing that nations be utterly destroyed. Something must be wrong. Somebody has to be wrong about this. We declare that God is all powerful and all good, yet there's suffering in the world. Somebody must be wrong. And these, and I can give you a laundry list more, are contradictions that humanity can't resolve and refuses to hold in tension. It has to be one or the other. And what the church has tended to do is engage these discussions on their merits. That is to say, the church allows room for God to be subject to the moral judgments of humanity. We say that what we declare good is a reasonable measuring stick for the goodness of God. Because we're trying to figure out, how is God a good God when this is happening? How is God a good God when that's happening? That's all rooted in our own perceptions of what is good. And so we engage and we try to rationalize and examine, how can we make what God is doing good to us? How can we get it to make sense to us? Mm-hmm. Because we've got a standard of goodness. We know what it means to be good. I'm not stupid. I'm an intelligent person. I know what good is. And God, this don't fit the definition of good. How is this loving? How is this kind? How is this compassionate? I know what these words mean. I went to school. I understand this stuff. I'm qualified to make an evaluation on the character of God based on what I know is what things are.